Morning, everybody. Okay, connected core today. We are going to do some focus on hips and low back. We haven't done any of our shin box flow or sequence in a long time, also known as Z-sits, pinwheel, 90-90, all different variations. So essentially, we need to be able to move our bodies in a way that we can keep our spine neutral, get up off of the ground without using our hands or our arms. It's super functional because if you're carrying or holding onto something that can't be put down, like a baby, or as you get older, you want to be able to maintain this level of mobility. It's been shown to track and be a correlation with longevity. So getting up off of the ground might seem, oh, well, that seems kind of super simple and silly, but really very important. We're going to warm up with a new breath technique, though, which I just learned. So you might need a tissue. So if you are stuffy, I know it's still allergy season, but if you are stuffy, go ahead and blow your nose. Or if you have to stop and blow your nose through this. And we're gonna sit. So Mariah, come and just have a sit. And you can sit like crisscross applesauce. However you feel comfortable sitting here. All right, so we're gonna warm up our diaphragm by starting to take inhales through our nose. We're gonna hiss out through our nose and we're gonna pulse it out. So I want you to imagine that you're blowing out your birthday candles with your nose. So it's going to be like, I am not quite ready to do that at full force. I have to blow my nose. So yes, this may seem kind of silly. Get the sillies out, and then we're going to go through this 5 times. You go ahead and go at your own pace. We really only have like one person joining us live today, so I know this is a recording for everybody. So warm up your breath 5 times. Big breath in through your nose down into your belly, and then I love it, Anna. Yep. Blow out your birthday candles with the air that's coming out of your nose, and you should feel what happens to your diaphragm. So this should be a pressurization of that piston mechanism. So diaphragm and pelvic floor sit parallel to each other like pistons, and in this almost like this hissing exhale with our nose, you should feel things really pressurize in this canister. I can see you doing it. I can see Anna doing it. How are we doing, Mariah? You feel that? Like, yeah. It's tough, huh? Yeah, so it's a lot harder to create that intra-abdominal pressure through your nose than it is through your mouth. Which is why when you see athletes who are out of breath at the end of a workout, they're doubled over and they're breathing in and out through their mouth, because it's easier. It's not the most efficient, but it's just easier. So we want to warm up that nose breath. How do we do with that one? Good. Weird, hard, great. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. Come into a Z sit. So let's put our left leg in front, right leg in back behind us. And we are gonna, I'm gonna show you this full sequence. So if you have done this before, you can kind of work ahead. Where we're gonna go, we're gonna warm up with kickstanding our hands and doing 10 windmills, kind of side to side, just warming up. We're trying to turn 180 degrees. Always trying to turn 180 degrees. If you can't get there, that's all right, but pick a wall in front of you to face. When you start, that front shin is parallel to the wall in front of you. We're trying to rotate our hips, passing through center. I'm almost in this like seated super deep squat, and then I'm rotating around to 180 degrees, facing the other direction. So now my right shin is parallel to that wall. So after we do about 10 of these windmills, then we're gonna cut that number in half, well, almost half, because we have to keep things symmetrical. And we're going to do 6 without our hands kickstanding behind us. So that movement starts when you're there. Starts with a big belly breath in, a lift of the back leg or the side leg. And then you're going to try to hit and rotate through that middle. And then over to the other side. Woo. If you want to hang out, this is your chance to connect with your body. If one side is feeling tighter and sitting and holding on that side and taking a couple deep breaths is the stretch that your body needs, then go for it, okay? Totally your own pace. You can hang out for as long as you would like in that Z-sit position there. So after we've done 6, where we're just trying to move without having our kickstand, we're going to add in just a little bit more intention to this with a big deep belly breath and trying to pull the crown of the head up towards the ceiling and trying to rotate. Now, you may not rotate all the way 180 degrees, but trying to rotate without losing this length in the spine. So whatever your hips can do, as long as your spine stays straight and upright and we're not having to drop into a curve, a flexion position with the spine, okay? So 6, just 10 windmills, 6 just warming up without using our hands as a kickstand. Whatever happens to the spine happens. And then 6 really intentional, just moving as far as you can side to side, but your focus, what you aren't compromising is this length and straightening of the spine. Okay. Awesome.
I find my butt like scooches. Is there a way to prevent that?
Yes, mine too. Good question. Not really. Practice and getting better and getting more stable. Yeah. So if we have, I don't think I've ever seen anybody do this 100% perfect. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit of traveling, a little bit of movement with this one. So totally fine to kind of readjust and position yourself back to the middle every once in a while. Okay. Awesome. All right. So when you guys are done with those, we're going to come back to the middle or back to a comfortable seat in the middle. Let's do left leg shin out in front first. And we're going to kind of do the same 10, 6, 6 with just a lift up and forward. So if we're sitting on the ground and we've got our legs in this position, they can come to this position from wherever we were. We're going to do 10 assisted, however you want to assist yourself, 10 assisted lifts up and forward with our hips. So this may be you have something in front of you, like a bed, a couch, a chair, where you're just lifting up a little bit. Or you can even give yourself a little bit of a boost with your fingertips off of the ground, okay? 10 assisted lifts. So from the side view, I'm sitting in this Z-sit position. I've got a big belly full of air. Maybe do a couple little hisses first to make sure this is pressurized. And then I'm going to get myself up with my hips open and forward. I'm on both knees. If you need some cushion underneath the knees, you can feel free to roll up a mat. But let's do 10 assisted lifts out of a shin box position. Looks good. And then we'll move into our 6 unassisted. And then the last 6 will be very intentional, trying to keep our crown high, spine nice and tall, big belly breath in, and then even bringing in the arms, holding them nice and tight, squeezing biceps and triceps. That can help. A little bit of a lean forward, but I'm not bending or flexing. I'm just a little bit of a hinge forward from the hips, so I get some pressure on the knees. And then that big belly breath in. I'm already starting to squeeze my butt together before I come off the ground, and that's what's going to lift me up. These are tough. 10 assisted, 6 unassisted, and then 6 really, really intentional with maintaining a brace.
What are we doing? Good. Unassisted. It's hard.
On your last 6, if you feel like the up is pretty easy, I've done these before, think about the down. So on our way down to the ground, we're fighting gravity, and I want that landing to be nice and soft. So as we come up, my bad side, I'm really, really fighting the urge to just flop. And I've got a really nice soft landing. That's tough. Okay. But the practicing of it is going to make things better.
Can I go ahead and switch sides?
Yes, I was just about to say that. You are ready to switch. We've done our 22 total. 10 just to warm up, unassisted. Or if you're a rock star, you can jump right into those 10 assisted, 6 unassisted, and then 6 very intentional working on a slow, soft descent. Check that was that because it's jump on here.
No.
It's humid. No, it's humid and hot and sweaty. Gross. Sorry, guys. All right. Okay, where we are going with this, if you are flying through and you are ahead of me, we're going to add in a sweep. So we'll start with that leg that you originally started with in front. We have to move through this position from our seated shin box. We have to move through this up, and then the leg that's out to the side is going to sweep around and become your front leg in a low lunge. The leg that was in front can move into a little bit of a kickstand position. So the heel, which when I'm up here, my heel is almost directly underneath my trunk. It can kind of kickstand back out behind me to be a little bit more in line with my knee as I swing this other leg into a low lunge. Does that make sense? So I am moving my front leg back a little bit. You can't see that at all. So from my shin box here, my leg that's in front moves back just a little bit before, and then I move into that knee, and then that leg that was out to the side sweeps around and swings into.
How do you want us to come back down?
You come back down the same way you got up. So you just reverse the motion, okay? And we're gonna repeat this in our brain because that forward and reverse can be tricky for our brain to get this motion. So I just want you to come up, come up and down 10 times on this leg, and then come up and down 10 times on the other, okay? We're not gonna worry about making this pretty or super crazy, slow and controlled. We're just moving through this, okay? 10 on each side. Here. And that same leg sweeps back around. That can be the trickiest part here, right? So I come up, my leg sweeps and swings forward, foot plants on the ground. It's gonna sweep and swing all the way back to the original position. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is a phenomenal warm-up to do before you do any sort of exercise with your lower body that involves any hinging or any squatting or running. So almost everything. Great CrossFit, squats, barbells, all that stuff. Trying to sweep and swing it around. Good, Maria. Back, all the way back to that starting position. 10 on each side. What are we feeling? When you are done with your 10 on each side, you're going to meet me in a low lunge. We're going to skip through the beginning. You're going to meet me in a low lunge, and we're just going to hold it. So let's start with our right leg here. We're going to do a couple. We're going to do 10 cat-cows with just our lower back. So in this arched position, I want you to take the leg that's bent and hike the hip up and down 10 times. It's a little bit different. So hiking that hip up to the shoulder. Notice how that takes your hips out of neutral, and then drop it back down. I want you to feel that stretch. Probably if you're tight on the opposite QL, on the opposite side, as you bring that hip down. Okay? 10 of those. Hip hike and down. When we're in this lunge position, we do want this hip to be as low as possible. Okay? So once we've got it low and warmed up 10 times low, trying to keep it low, then we're going to tuck and untuck the tailbone 10 times. And as you tuck your tailbone underneath you, keeping the rest of you straight, you should start to feel, the more you tuck, a stretch happening in the left hip flexor. You've got your right knee on top, left hip flexor and quad start to stretch as you tuck that tailbone. You feeling that? Mm-hmm. Good. Hone back in with your hips. Mine have shifted. My right one is now way sky high. Tuck it down or pull it down towards the ground, and then tuck the tailbone. So when you've warmed up 10 and 10 and 10, find the fullest expression you can with this hip down and tailbone tucked, and we're going to do 10 inhales through your nose and 10 hisses, 10 sequences where you inhale through your nose, hiss through your nose, blow out your birthday candles, just as many as you can until you feel like you've emptied. Okay, be 5 of those types of breaths. 5 inhales where you're hissing, real staccato, hissing out, so we feel some pressure. Okay. If you have to reset and hone back in, and okay, I gotta tuck, I gotta drop, and I gotta tuck, and I gotta feel that stretch. Halfway through, feel free to do that. Okay. And you may start to feel things turn on and get angry at you. I just got a nice little cramp in my foot. It's fabulous. You may notice the next time you go back and drop that hip, tuck that tailbone, my hip flexor on that side feels a lot looser now. All of a sudden, it just released. You might feel things different in the hips. Okay, we good on that side? All right, let's switch. So left knee in front, right knee is stacked directly under hips, directly under shoulders. We're gonna hike that left hip up and down. And when you bring it all the way down, we should feel a stretch through that right side body. If you're tight there, you may not. Good. So we're trying to get the hips even this way before we start to do front and back. If you imagine your pelvis like a bucket of water, we're tipping that water out the front, bringing it back to neutral, and then maybe even tipping it back so the water pours out the back just a little bit. And that motion is all coming from the tailbone. So we're just doing some little mini cat-cows with just our lower half. Good. Okay. So we've got 10 hip hikes. Bring that hip down, tuck the tailbone, 10 times. When you tuck, you should feel, or you may feel if it's tight, a stretch, hip flexor, quad on that side. How does that feel? Yeah, good. Did you do the workout yesterday? All week. Okay. So when we are done with our 20, 10 and 10, hold that position, that full expression of hip down, tailbone tucked, 5 inhales with our hissing. Blow out the birthday candles to exhale. Take breaks in between those weird inhales and exhales if you need to, and take a regular breath. Totally fine to do that. Good. Before we move, let's see, it's 10:30, perfect, or it's 8:30. Before we move into our standing up, right, because the whole point is get off of the ground without using your hands, if you have something that you're holding on to. We are gonna go up into a single leg and stand up from this position, but before we do that, we're gonna drop down and do a little bit more with the hips. So our hands are gonna come down to the ground. This knee is gonna come, we'll just stay on this left side. This knee is gonna come a little bit wider, so I have room to hinge forward from my waist and plant my hands on the ground, okay? So my foot ends up being wide and outside of my hands. My hands come in. Palms may be on the ground, fingertips can be on the ground. That feels better for me. I can keep my spine a little bit straighter if I'm on my fingertips. You can even grab a block or a cushion or a pillow if you just can't quite get all the way down to the ground without really rounding your back. We'll keep a nice neutral spine, okay? So in this position, we're gonna do a couple more movements with the hips. Try to bring your knee, you're gonna bring your knee forward, and then you're gonna try to glue it back into its socket. So I'll be really exaggerated here. I'm opening up my hips and twisting to the right, but then I'm bringing that hip back in to square everything up, okay? So when I do that, when I bring it in, I'm really feeling a stretch deep in that ball and socket hip capsule. Hang out there for a big belly breath, and then you can kind of release it and give this the full motion in this position. Okay, when you feel good there, you can bring yourself back up to this high kneeling, switch the sides. Knee comes, or foot comes wide, so we can drop and hinge forward, hands come lower to the ground, and then from here, I'm gonna play around with this. Lean back to neutral, but then gluing my femur into that socket of my hip. From there, I take a nice big belly breath in and give that hip a little capsule stretch. That looks good. Come back, when you're done with that, come back to that side we started on, left, we got left in front, planted, right behind us. We're gonna stand up on this leg with just using this leg. The leg that's behind us, your toes are gonna tuck. So you've got a little bit to push off of with that big toe behind you, okay? Big toe is gonna push off, a front foot is gonna push off, and you're gonna come up and stand on that leg, single leg, okay? I want you to think about your foot like a triangle. So if my hand was my foot, I've got my heel, my big toe joint, and that knuckle joint underneath my pinky toe, okay? So we've got 3 points here, we've got a triangle. I want you to make sure that your foot is pressing into the ground with all 3 points, okay? Most of us will easily be able to feel the heel because that's often cued, and a lot of us will be able to feel that push off of the big toe. Some of us won't be able to feel this push or this pressure on the pinky toe, so you may need to roll a little bit more to the outside or the inside if you aren't feeling that pressure underneath big toe, pinky toe, knuckle. Does that make sense to everybody? So we're not talking about the toes. Toes should be able to still kind of flutter and lift off if they needed to. Yeah, so we've got this triangle pressure on our foot, big belly breath in, squeeze the butt, and then stand up on that front leg. Beautiful. Once you get to a full standing position, then the other leg can drop down and meet it. Beautiful. We're gonna roll through that 6 times on this leg. Just kind of a nice flow, easy rep. Go from kneeling to standing on that leg, using your butt and only the pressure from your core and that foot driving through this triangle on your foot. That looks good. How are we doing?
Good.
As you come back down, trying to maintain those 3 pressure points. You don't have to have your back toes tucked. They can help. They can give you a little bit more of a boost. If you have one leg that's a little bit sluggish. I don't want to say weak, but just not woken up yet. But it is harder to start with your back leg toes untucked. Everybody looks good. All right, so when you are done with that side, we are gonna put it all together. We are only gonna put it together twice on each side. So if you start looking at the wall in front of you in a shin box position, you are going to then rotate and turn, big belly breath in, controlled rotate to the wall behind you. So we want a full-ish 180 degrees. You're gonna do the lift, big belly breath in, lift the hips up and forward. And then the back leg is gonna swing into that lunge, and then you will stand single leg, and then you will reverse it all down and come back the exact way that you came up. So that leg will swing back behind you. Switch and rotate. And now we're back to where we started. And that's 1. Okay?
Going to.
2 on each side. Take your time. Pause in any of these positions in the middles, in the transitions, to take some extra deep belly breaths or reset breaths. And if you're limited on space, you can just keep your butt where it is and flip the legs around. The surface that you're on can make a difference here with these movements. And I definitely recommend starting them out, if you've never done them before, being barefoot. Doing these leg swings can be tricky if you've got big clunky shoes on. Putting it all together. Awesome. When you are done with your 2 on each side or 2 each direction, scoot your butt close to a wall or a bed or a couch or a chair or something, and we're gonna put our legs up. We're gonna get all that blood flow that we just created. Yep, and we're gonna redirect it back towards our middle, okay? So Anna's doing legs up on the bed, that's good. Legs couching rise, doing legs up the wall, which looks like that. Booty is scooched as close as possible to the wall. Legs are up in the air. Everything is super relaxed. If you want a little extra, you can bring your hands into like a goalpost position. A little pec stretch here. Palms flat on the ground behind you. They don't have to be. Or whatever. Oh. But we want relaxed legs here. So wiggle the toes a little bit. Give your ankles a couple ankle rolls, ankle swirls. Yeah. So our hips, as you're laying here, just bring your breath back to wherever it naturally falls. Can still be in and out through your nose. Just some nice, easy breathing. Definitely still want your breath in your belly. So if your hands need to come to your belly to give yourself some feedback, that's fine. Nice, easy recovery breaths. That was quite a bit of movement. We're warm and sweaty over here. Legs are relaxed, quads are relaxed, glutes are relaxed, calves, shins, feet, toes. Okay. Gravity is redirecting some of our blood flow and just pulling it back into our abdomen. Our hips are really susceptible to what's going on internally with our organs and our deep abdominals. We've got a big giant blood vessel that feeds both hips and it branches off right at about the belly button. So sometimes hip mobility, hip stability, hip pain, sometimes those issues, there's a blood flow component. So we just really worked those systems and we want to help redirect everything. So all the good stuff that we just did now has enough oxygen and blood flow to make some good lasting changes. So this is a great sequence to do, especially if you're going from, I've been sitting all day or I've been sitting at my desk for 8 hours and now I want to go move, getting those hips out of just that flexed 90-degree seated position, get some serious blood flow there. I'm going to end the recording. So that was kind of a quick burn on a little shorter than normal, but a quick burn on our shin box flow to standing. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh.